Indian broadcaster.
Welcome back to the show. And, we're talking such pertinent topics this morning, things that are relative, important. And of course, giving you the advice to take into consideration and see how it can help you through the types of issues that you face. And there's no better way than doing it as well through narrative. And it's something that I think is so important. If you pick up a book and you read something and it inspires you and it changes the way you look at something, or it changes your mindset and your focus. It's so interesting to see that there's so many people out there that pick up that book and they've learned something from it at the end of the day. And I find myself in that situation where you read something and then you get totally inspired. So we're going to be profiling two of our authors, of course, from the anthology Taxi Through Mzansi. And I must tell you, it's a very interesting book, because what it does is it talks about relative everyday topics and issues that people are facing in different areas. And then, of course, with the purpose and the message behind it. And I have two phenomenal women with me today. Let me just give you a little bit of a breakdown of them. I have Asmaa Khan, a passionate educator with a particular interest in learning through play and inquiry-based learning. She hopes to make an impact through education and writing. Asmaa loves working with other people and inspiring them to reach their full potential. She's a mother to 4 kids. And in 2014, she became the published author of a novel called Surviving. She's also an ambassador for play, earned by partaking in Project Zero, a research division of Harvard University and Lego Foundation, researching play in Africa. And if she's not teaching, Asmaa is, of course, getting involved in writing. So that's Asmaa. And then let me tell you a little bit about Sister Mumtaz Mahal Suliman. Also a very phenomenal woman, a teacher by profession, business owner, and activist against GBV, and founder of the No to Gossip campaign, a campaign that champions empathy and support for abused women at the center of societal stigmas. After teaching English and HSS for almost 2 decades, moving from victim to victor, she was offered a seat on the table of an emerging foreign franchise and was awarded Business Woman of the Year within 2 years. Wow. She's also an author, mother, grandmother, and therapeutic teacher, and a Heal for Life facilitator, a Reiki practitioner, and she does so many healing techniques. So, and also serving as an NPO, wanting to give that and reach that higher purpose. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much to you two phenomenal ladies for joining me this morning on the Good Morning Show with myself, Nafeesa Dangor. I am so honored to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you for having us, Nafeesa.
Mumtaz, thank you so much. I look forward to chatting to you. Looking at your stories, they seem to be so relative, fun, but yet purposeful and interesting, I must say. So let's start with you, Asmaa. What edged you on into getting involved in this particular anthology and wanting to give your piece? Let's talk about your story. Of course, you grew up in Azadbo, am I right? And let's talk about the story, because I find it quite interesting. So just talk a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to go over to Mumtaz.
What you actually asked, what edged me on? Actually, Mumtaz edged me on.
Sure, it sounds really bad. I can't hear there. Let's just see if we can try that again.
Can you hear me now?
Asmaa, can you just try that one more time? We seem to be breaking up. I don't know if it's the signal on your side, because, we seem to be having quite bad weather today.
The weather is quite bad. My signal seems to be fine.
Let's see if we can get you sorted out. Mumtaz, let's see if we have sound from you. Okay.
Hello,
Mumtaz,
can you hear me? I can hear you.
I can hear you, but the sound is breaking up very badly. So I think we're having a signal issue from one side or the other.
I think it's possibly from my side. We usually have it here down in Orchard.
Yeah, let's just try that out again.
Is that better?
No, we seem to be breaking up. Okay, give us a second. Let's go into a short break for like a half a minute just to see if we can alter that sound quickly. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Go. That's so much better. I have my two wonderful ladies back.
At 1,500 Rand a month or any amount. Visit africamuslimsagency.co.za or call 011 834 8685. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
I give salam to my people in Bangladesh, salam to the people of Marrakesh, salam to the lions in Palestine, salam to the people of our times, salam to the people in Tokyo. If you're sad right now, then don't be so. Salam to my neighbors in Pakistan, salam to the people in other lands, salam to the people who live in Spain, salam to the strugglers who live in pain, salam to my folk in Malaysia, all the way to the deserts of Arabia. Salam to my ikhwa in Kosovo and to my akhawat, anything is possible. Salam to my folk in Uzbekistan, to the people of Turkey I give salam. Salam, 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 salam. I give salam to my people in western lands and to Sham that is known as the best of lands. Salam to the people of India and the oppressed out there, the Rohingya. Salam to the people of Ecuador and to the people of Egypt, rest assured. Salam to the people of Gambia and my brothers out there in Zambia. Salam to the brothers in Somalia and my sisters here in Britannia. Salam to the people in UAE. Salam Salam to the lands that you ain't seen. Salam to that bro, salam to that man. I give salam whether Kurd or Afghan. Spreading salam in every continent. If they give salam back, then respond to them. Salam, 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 salam. Salam, 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 salam.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media. Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media, your humanitarian broadcaster.
Suliman. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And as I was saying, what a phenomenal two ladies that I have on the show. So let's start with you, Asmaa. Talk to us a little bit about yourself. And, I gave the viewers a bit of a breakdown, quite an interesting synopsis of yourself. What edged you on to get involved in Taxi Through Mzansi?
Thank you, Nafeesa. I was actually saying that it was actually Mumtaz who edged me on to submit my story to Taxi Through Mzansi. If it wasn't for her, then this wouldn't have been possible.
Yes, it goes to show Mumtaz is a networker and, of course, a community builder. I can see that from the type of things that I've read with her. I'm quite impressed with both of you. So talk me through your story and what made you decide to write that particular aspect. Let's talk about it. I know it's a fictional story. It's about Amira and how she sees things and her memorable experiences. Let's talk us through the story. Give us a bit of insight into it and what made you decide to write that particular aspect of it.
Nafeesa, I think you swapped the stories around.
Is yours not the one?
Amira
sorry.
is my character.
Oh, okay, sorry. I must apologize. The henna affair is your story.
Yes.
Okay, so talk me through your story. Let's see what it means for you. Why the henna story? I know you say, when we get together, the typical henna issue happens there where gossip flows like music and it satisfies everyone's appetites. What is it that edged you on to write this particular aspect of your story?
So, when I write stories, I actually always aim to either highlight a certain topic that I think needs dealing with in our communities, or I aim to inspire in some sort of way. But I also want to bring in that fun aspect. I love reading and writing. And so I feel like, when Mumtaz sent me the submission for the story, and I looked at the write-up and it said, the essence of Indianness and South Africanness. And I'm also very old-fashioned and I get nostalgic and I love all these get-togethers that we have as families, as Indian families. I don't know. I actually didn't. I wrote. I think I was one of the very last submissions because I am a procrastinator, and I submitted my story at the very last minute, and I had no clue what to write. But when I put, started typing out the story, it all just flowed out of me, and I think it stems back from wanting to either inspire people or create awareness of certain topics within our community and things like gossiping and race marriages.
I quite agree with you there, and I like the idea that you brought up stories that a lot of the times, should we say, in the communities, get pushed under the carpet sometimes, especially people's issues that are happening around them. And I think it's important for us to understand that there's respect levels that need to be drawn, and people need to understand the types of situations that each one faces. Only they alone know their experiences and their situations.
That's very true. And sometimes, like you say, we sweep things under the carpet. And I think that's one of the main themes in my story is sweeping things under the carpet, which I think that we have a knack for doing in our communities.
I agree with you. Asmaa, the thing is, I think what we need to look at as to create a knitted community, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that this is maybe one of the ideologies of your story and of your piece that you've given there, is to make people think that we need to start being relationship builders, and we need to start networking with each other and respecting each other's views and ideologies and coming together from an individual basis to create a support structure where we build a community and a society that is always there for each other, but by also respecting their views and the way they live and the way they see things.
Yes, I agree 100% in bringing up that platform. I feel like a lot of issues are swept under the carpet because we don't want to be judged. And the gossip stems from that way is if I'm going to bring up my problem or whatever difficulty I'm facing, everybody's going, it's going to go from one person to the next instead of giving me that support that I need in order to overcome this challenge.
Most definitely. And I mean, the thing is, people make mistakes in life, and it's being able to give them that second chance at it. And I think it's also, your story relates in many directions. When you go to a Mendi party and you sit and you look around you, and I think I was having this pertinent smile on my face when I read your story. It was like, oh goodness, this is so relative, because when you do go to those things, literally that's what's going on. He's the one who's talking about the other's downfalls and the issues. And I think we need to start changing the way we see things as people and as individuals, and start looking at things in a, should we say, a positive light, and bringing out the positive as opposed to the negative.
Definitely. I am all for, like Mumtaz's campaign, No for Gossip, sisterhood empowerment, celebrating each other, lifting each other up.
And I think this comes through for me through you being an ambassador. I think when you fall into that kind of categories and you mix with many people, it makes you realize from an outside point of view what is important in life and how we really need to relate to each other.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Coming to you, Mumtaz, I'm so sorry. I swapped these things. I don't know what happened to I think my computer went a bit dizzy and it swapped your stories around there. But anyway, coming to you.
I think my energy is about too strong. Three powerful women. Three powerful women on one platform.
You confused my computer in the process, darling. Okay, so let's talk about your story. I find it so interesting. It's rich about culture. I believe you grew up in Azadville.
Yes, I did. It was a whole world.
It's a different world. I know. I have family on that side of the line, and it's like when you go from one community to the other, you see the differences in the lifestyles and the way things are being done. So talk us through your story and what edged you on to write this particular piece, and what was the purpose and message that you wanted people to take back with you to say, this is what I want you to think about.
Okay, first I need to thank Shakira and Shaista that represent Media Inc. for giving us this opportunity, because when I saw the title and the criteria, it just spoke volumes to me, having moved out from Zapo for such a long while. A little bit of nostalgia crept inside when I saw the cultural aspect that spoke to me. So it was really home that was calling. So I created Amira. Amira's story is really my nostalgic feelings, narrated through the fictional Amira. And Amira also reminds me a lot of my child, Nurain, or my children, who have that affinity for belonging, for cultural, for Nani's home, for Nani's fresh rotis and the achar, and being Indian. They miss that, because moving out, whoever's moved out from their little towns will be a testament that you actually miss running to your neighbor's house and getting one onion and she gives you a whole bag of onions. I mean, now when you're living in the suburbs, you got to think of first dressing up before getting to the spa, because there's fashion police. You've got to get your car out of the driveway and then stress about being mud or hijacked on the road just for one onion and nothing short of. So that kind of brought back a lot of memories. However, I also wanted my story to capture two types of people. So we have Nani, who is typically serving and the subservient wife, that's the least systems we grew up with, and she chose that lifestyle to cook and clean and serve and serve and serve. And her flour-stained vodka, and she's just cooking and cleaning. And then we have Fawzia Bani, who really started a revolution. Although people spoke about her, she started a revolution because we see how it evolved the town and how women started realizing we need to take our power back. We do count. And not that there's anything wrong with the way Nani chose to stick by her Nana serving him. I mean, even though Nana is emotionally abusive because he only thinks about food, they share a kind of untold love story, and that love story comes in the form of the fresh roti and the achar, because it was really an eating culture.
It's interesting that you bring this up, Mumtaz, because I think also what your story spoke to me, and I will tell you from reading your little piece, was that we need to understand that the times have changed, and I'm going to bring this up. I hope I'm not going to get myself into trouble with this, but I think a lot of the communities, when you look at them from a very general point of view, are stuck in that old version where they have those old mindsets, and that's where the trouble starts, because they start interfering in their children's marriages. They want to tell them what to do. They want to create this lifestyle. I had this difficult life, so you will go through the same things that I went. They don't want to be that those understanding kind of individuals to understand that, times have changed. The way we look at things have changed. Our mindsets have changed. So we've got to change with it. And I think that's where many a troubles start in today's society. And I don't know if you're going to agree with me on that particular point.
I completely agree with you. I think it's also not just our parents. It's not just the generations of cyclical pain that we continue to carry on. It's also what society expects us. They box us. And so we're supposed to look a certain way, act a certain way, dress, talk a certain way. And sometimes we lose and we kill our true spirit and our true essence of who we are. And they also
want us to be those nannies that they were and go through what they went through, not realizing that is now not the norm of life, and maybe that time they were not educated enough to understand the ideologies, that's not how things are done. But unfortunately, that went from generation to generation. Would you agree that the generation needs to change the way their mindset and the way they look at things from this particular perspective now, that they need to be a little bit more understanding to the situations and the marriages? Because I'm reading Fauzia's story, and I mean, she comes from an abusive marriage. And a lot of the times when you look at abusive marriages, you find that there are a lot of outside interferences that also edge problems on even more than they are there already. You'd find maybe a family member phoning and saying, oh, she's not listening to me, and she's not doing this, and she's not doing that. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I completely agree. You know, my coach had brought to my attention a few weeks ago to say that most of these problems arise is because we fail to understand each other. So we're quick to judge and say, she needs to mend this marriage. She needs to make sabr and stay in there. However, we do not realize that she's probably reacting because she has so much of pain. So if we start understanding her, then we can understand that the decisions she made was because of an underlying problem. Unfortunately, we need so much of education, Nafeesa. We need a lot of education, and it's going to have to start with us. Until we don't loving ourselves completely, we will not be able to love the next person and want for our brother that which we want for ourselves, because we are so incomplete.
True. Asmaa, coming back to you, you know, your story about the henna affairs, it's so in correlation with Mumtaz's story. It talks about the gossiping and the edging of problems and things like that. And I think it's good that this pieces have been written, because I think it's good food for thought for the generations that are there to be able to read the story and ask themselves, am I doing something like this, and how do I change it to be able to create a better environment, not just for myself, but for my families and my extended families as well.
You know, every time Mumtaz or I write something, then one of us follows with something else that's very similar in tune.
I'm laughing because you know what they say, right? Great minds think alike.
It happens all the time. Every time we didn't discuss stories with each other, it just happened that way. But I think in moving forward, we need to be able to, like Mumtaz says, is love ourselves. And when we love ourselves, we'll be able to be so comfortable that we can speak up for ourselves and just live our lives. Yes, the stories are very similar and aligned, in which, you know, in both we have old people sweeping things under the carpet, the new people wanting to, you know, face everything head on, and you know, they don't see anything wrong in the same way that the older generation would. So in my story, my main character, sorry.
Right. And tapping into the same thing that I asked Mumtaz, don't you think that we need to educate the older generations? We understand what they went through and what they experienced, but obviously they don't need to make the newer generations experience what they experienced by having that, should we say, cultural attitude of, you know, I need to control you and I need to tell you what to do and you need to listen to me because I have a particular stature in my family. Don't you think that that's where many problems stem from, where they're not understanding that what they are doing is actually hurting the family environment? Instead of building it, they're breaking it down?
Nafeesa, I agree with you one. So, Asmaa, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think that they're intentionally, you know, knowing or understanding even that they're hurting other people, especially when they come from smaller towns. I feel like it's just what it is and nobody questions it. So you're right, education does need to be involved, but I think it also is a mindset thing, and sometimes it's just not going to be changed.
No, that's true. From your side, Mumtaz, what would you say is the most important thing you would like to leave our listeners with this morning?
The most important thing for our listeners, You don't have to force your older generation to change. In order for you to change that narrative, you just have to be. So it takes one person to wake up and say, I'm choosing change. So just a quick little one. My nanny and my business was based on my mum. And my mum was an absolutely conservative person. Asmaa would know. Asmaa shared that world in the stories that I reflect. And I think I was my mom's biggest lesson because I was a complete rebel. I was regarded as a rebel. However, when my mom had gone through a heart attack, we are kept this easy to teach us, to push us out of our comfort zone. So when I changed the narrative, I had the opportunity of having to look after her in my home. And I didn't tell her, Mom, you have to change in order to embrace what Allah has given you. My mom shifted because she watched me shifting. And she's such a delightful old woman. So in her late 70s, making her teeth and making a child to her old man, but she has shifted and she has embraced change, and that has contributed to her healing. I'm so proud of you, Mom, if you are listening to this. And Nafeesa, I must tell you that our stories, when we do write and when we get this opportunity to share, it's our souls that are pouring an expression for others to reach it. It's just a pity that our culture lacks readers. We don't have enough readers.
That is so true. And this is why we're doing what we're doing today. We want to educate through narrative, and we really appreciate the narrative. We appreciate the fact that through your writing, you entice us into better spaces and places. You entice us to look at the types of situations we're in and learn from that and see how we can move forward. Because from there, we get some form of advice and a message from you to be able to, of course, look at ourselves and say, what have we learned from it? So I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Asmaa, from your side, what would you like to leave us with?
I would just like everyone to, live their lives. Do you? If you want to be stuck in a mindset, do you? If you want to, conquer the world, do you? I feel that it's so important to live our lives. And like Mumtaz says, we shouldn't be fixated on other people and how they would like us to live our lives. And also, please follow media.inc on social medias and buy tickets to the launch on the 5th of December.
I was going to ask you that, and you took the words right out of my mouth. So thank you so much. You have been so inspirational to us this morning. I want to thank you for writing these pieces. I also want to congratulate you on being such phenomenal women going out there and enticing other women to be able to find their potentials and tap into things. And I'm hoping that I can catch up with you ladies real soon. I'm so excited to want to meet you in person because I think you're absolutely phenomenal and you really are making your mark out there. And, as I spoke earlier to my lady Nazia before you, we spoke about legacies and I can see the two of you leaving your own behind. So all the best going forward. Jazakallah so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing this platform with me, Asmaa. Love you.
You too.
I can see the love is getting shared here. That is so cool. That is so cool. But Jazakallah so much. All the best, ladies. And I look forward to meeting you at the launch, inshallah.
We do love you, Nafeesa. Love you, Asmaa. Assalamu alaikum.
I love you guys too. Take care. All the best going forward. And I'm definitely going to be following you and getting inspired in many directions. Thank you for giving me a grand perspective this morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
That was two phenomenal women, Asmaa Khan and Mumtaz Suliman, giving us a take on their stories and what it means for them and what purposes and messages they would like to leave through their little pieces, of course, from the anthology Taxi Through Mzansi. So get a hold of that book and then do, of course, get onto their site and go and buy tickets for their launch, which I think is happening on either the 4th or the 5th of December. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in a minute.
From the townships of South Africa, the refugee camps in Syria, or orphanages in Yemen, the eyes of the needy speak volumes with just